the vampires have been taking them, and it's going to take young Megawatt and his friends, Tiger Shark and Goldenheart, to put a stop to these dastardly bloodsuckers. And it's it's a really colorful book. It kind of has that a more detailed Hanna-Barbera sort of vibe to it.
Yeah, I really like. If you can't tell from my comics, I really like that cartoony style, and your illustrator has captured that that cartoony style perfectly. I think that there's actually there's sort of two aesthetics that are popular in indie comics today, and that's McFarlane-esque, Rob Liefeld-esque 90s Image Comics aesthetic, and then there's manga. And I really like to see this more American cartoon style of comics get a little rub, and that's what immediately drew me to your comic when I saw the promo stills and the trailer for Megawatt versus the Vampires of the Sun was how well it captured that cartoon style and how colorful and bright the comic looks like it's going to be, which is very cool to me as a fan. That style draws me in.
And that was intentionally, that was done by design. I'm not like a lot of writers. Everything I write is a screenplay because I've worked in film and television. And so I decided to take the screenplay and adapt it to a comic book. But as a director, I already see every shot. As a cinematographer and a camera operator, I know the shots I want.
You're speaking my language, brother.
It can be a little difficult for some artists to work with a writer who's acting like a director, because I want to make sure that what I want is what I get. If I'm paying for this, I want what I want.
There's sort of a rivalry between writers and illustrators in comics, where some illustrators want creative freedom to look at your script and then take creative liberties to sort of position the camera and create the camera directions however they choose to, and to split the panels up as much as they want or as little as they want. And they believe they are the sort of creative force, and all you're doing as the writer is telling the story. So what you're saying is as a primarily a visual artist and director in the film industry, you are basically asking your visual artist to create exact storyboards for your movie, but the storyboards are going to be the final art and the movie is going to be a comic book, right?
Yeah, that's basically how I look at it. Yeah, I'm of the belief that the writer is the creator god. My brain came up with this idea. My brain visualizes it. My brain has to take it from being, just in the ether to being fleshed out on paper. And it is the job of the film director or the artist to interpret my creation. Not to, they're not creating their own thing. You're interpreting someone else's creation. And so I just want to make sure it's done as faithfully as possible. And I've learned over the last year that the best way to do that is to hire a foreign artist. American artists seem to be the type that want to, this is my, basically they want to take your idea and make it theirs. And I'm not really interested.
Yeah, and that's a whole discussion to have, because if you ask any, like you said, American illustrator or Western illustrator, they'll tell you that a comic book doesn't exist without them. They are the creative genius behind the work, and the writer is just the dude that writes the dialogue. The writer will tell you that they are the creative genius behind the project, and the illustrator is just drawing the pictures the way the script is telling them to do so. And it's this sort of like I said, it's sort of a rivalry. I don't know a better way to phrase it. But if we ask ourselves, what are considered, say, the 10 best graphic novels of all time, every single one of them, you will be able to name the writer, or if you name the artist, it's because he's also the writer. You can in almost no instance can the average comic book fan name the illustrator of say the illustrator of The Watchmen. You know that Alan Moore wrote The Watchmen. I don't personally know who illustrated Watchmen. I've heard his name several times, but it never sticks with me. Yeah, there you go.
Maybe I made that up.
Dave Gibbons, he did it. But it's because the art of of Watchmen, while it's passable, it's not so mind blowing that it takes over and over it is overemphasized compared to the story of Watchmen.
Yeah.
What compels us to put Watchmen in top 10 comics of all time is because of the vast, sweeping, epic story that's being told, which is in the hands of the writer, not the illustrator. The illustrator created the visuals to go along with this epic story that only Alan Moore could tell. And so
Yeah.
that's where I come down on, and I do both. So I write, I draw, and so coming from sort of that middle neutral platform, I always say, illustrators, you guys are great, and some guys, like my favorite illustrator today is Trad Moore. If you guys are familiar with him, he's doing the Silver Surfer Black series right now.
Yeah.
You guys familiar with him?
Yeah.
He just has a fucking crazy visual style, and it just I want everything. I want everything the man does, because he has his style just gets me off visually.
Yeah.
But I'm always going to fall on the side of the writer and say that a writer will make or break a great comic book. The visuals aren't going to do that.
That's correct. I agree with that 100%. The artist can make the writer's story even better, or can absolutely kill the book. But, well, that's not even true. Like, the artist cannot make the story, an artist can't take a crap story and make it good just because he drew it well. It's still a crap story that everybody's going to forget about.
And I think for a great story, I think for a great story, less than serviceable art doesn't necessarily kill it. You can have something with a compelling story and just barely passable art that's still considered good because of how compelling the story is.
Mm-hmm.
The story is everything, in my